Welcome to NEK-VT Rocks. My guests today represent Arnold's Rescue Center, Bari Fischer and Sue Arnold. So I'm going to start with you, Sue, because I guess you're the Arnold of Arnold's Rescue.
Right.
Tell me about Arnold's Rescue Center.
Well, we established it because we ran out of room in Florida. We have a big rehab center and rescue down there. And with the economy and everything, we had so many animals turned in that, and we couldn't turn them away.
Right.
We just decided to look for some other land outside of Florida, and
you came as far north as you possibly could.
I definitely did. I came to visit Bari, and we were riding around just eating donuts from the Amish.
Of course, yeah.
And we found that piece of property. And I said, oh my gosh, this would be perfect.
And how long ago is that?
That was like 3 years.
Wow. So you've
Of
got
course,
all of that in 3 years.
Yes,
Wow.
and we were traveling in late summer. So
spectacular.
Florida woman here had never done a winter up here. And I didn't even think about that.
Right.
But we went ahead, we built the barn first, and the house took a little longer. And we got our fencing up, we got our animals in, and we have not stopped.
And you were already living here?
Yes.
How long had you been up here?
Well, I had been going back and forth to Florida. We bought our house in '05, and then we bought our campground in '06. But I still worked in Florida, in Southwest Florida, and I'd go back and forth.
So you, not quite a snowbird, but close. You spent more time up here.
Reverse snowbird.
Reverse snowbirds,
yeah, no,
right.
but finally a year ago, I spent the first full winter here, which was super. I finally could stay in my house.
When I looked at your website for your much bigger organization in Florida, you have some pretty exotic animals there.
Right.
Those are not the local animals we see up here.
No.
So who do you have up here?
I do not have any exotics up here.
No, those donkeys are pretty exotic.
Well, and it's, the climate is way too different, you know, that I have camels down there, and they were confiscated. I have a lot of confiscated animals.
Right.
Due to our permits, we just about have to take anything.
Sure.
And then if Fish and Game can find a home for it, they will, but that has not happened very often.
I'm sure.
No. So once they drop it off, we sort of know that
they're staying with you.
It's here, right.
So what do you have up here? And you're in Brownington right now.
Right. I have horses, donkeys. Oh, I have Franklin the goat. And I have Molly the lamb. And as of the other day, I used to have 8 ducks. I now have 20. I had babies.
Has anybody talked to you about taking eggs before they become?
Well, it's sort of cute. And when the people come to visit, they've got animals that will come up to them and they can pet. And
you're going to have an awful lot of ducks very soon.
No. I will. Those will be the only things that we do rehome.
Right. What kind of ducks?
Muscovies mostly, and pecans.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Muscovies.
Well, they're the African quackless duck. Did you know that?
Yes, but they're certainly able to make a noise.
Yes, they can make a noise, a hissing noise, like.
I have friends with Muscovies. They terrorize UPS because they run at the truck hissing, and the UPS driver is not a happy camper.
Right. Oh, and I have my dog Spencer.
What is Spencer?
Spencer is a Dalmatian. So a lot of people in Brownington know him. He travels everywhere with me.
Mm-hmm. So the donkeys that you have, quote, regular donkeys that most of us are used to seeing, and you have some very exotic looking donkeys that a friend of mine refers to as rasta donkeys.
Yes.
What are they?
They are Poitous, and I will let Bari tell you about our Poitous.
Yeah, the Poitou donkeys, we started out with two that came up were in Florida and came to our rescue in Florida. They are critically endangered. They're a very large donkey. They're the oldest donkey in the world.
Wow.
They've even seen them back probably 1200. And they were used to haul. Poitou is a French area. It's a southern area of France. It's below Brittany. And that's where they found them initially. But they thought they probably came over from Africa. But they were used for, generations or, centuries. And they're extremely strong. They have enormous ankles, and they're loose jointed, so they can go across any type of terrain. And they actually have pictures of World War I where they're hauling cannons.
Wow.
And different wars. But in 1977, there were only 40 left in the world.
Oh.
And now they're between 500 and 600. So we feel really blessed. We have 10.
Wow. Are they all rescues, or did you find them in other ways?
The two in Florida were sort of quasi, they weren't truly a rescue. The other ones were donated to us, and there was an organization in southern Vermont called the Hamilton Foundation of Rare Breeds, and Debbie Hamilton had several different kinds of equines, including the Poitou, and she was one of the people that brought him into this country. And unfortunately, she died about 8 years ago of cancer. But her foundation continued, and a lady by the name of Pat Hastings ran it. But they finally decided that they had to dissolve the foundation. And so they gave us 3 of the pure Poitou, as well as the only frozen semen in the world. And normally, a rescue does not breed, but part of the understanding is that we would have a sort of a separate arrangement that we would try to continue breeding, just because there's so few in the world.
Right.
And the University of Illinois, through a strange circumstances, became involved. They're a large vet school, and they actually took 5 of them out there last summer. And they did a breeding program. And we have one that's pregnant from that. This frozen semen that we have is from a French jack, and it was gathered more than 25 years ago. So it's pretty incredible. And she is due to deliver. Her name is Quiche Lorraine, and she's due to deliver probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
That is a lovely story. It's so amazing, though, that to get a donkey pregnant, you have to go to the University of Illinois.
Not
it's
anymore.
But no,
No.
no. Well, and not anymore. This is the first time we've said anything. Cold Hollow vet, Earl Brady, Dr. Earl Brady, has been working with us. And now as of last Friday, we have our first truly documented second pregnancy. And her name is Bijou, and she will be due about a year from now. And so the French have been unable to do this.
Yeah.
And so it's truly incredible. I mean, I get emails all the time from France about this, and they're watching with very definite eyes. The French have actually got a very tight evaluation of the Poitous, because they've been interbred, and they have 2 books called Book A, or Livre, and Book B. Book A, or Livre, is 100% Poitou. And 2 of the females that we have are 100%. Quiche, Debbie Hamilton died before she could document it in France, but she would be Book A. And we just brought over, since there are only 11 stallions in the world, or 11 stallions in the United States, and some of them are very old and they're sort of all over the United States. We just brought in a little Jack from France. His name is Kipling, and he arrived a month ago, and he's 11 months old. And we did that. It's probably my children's inheritance.
Do they know this?
Not really, not really. I think they may have, but I thought it was really important if we made a commitment to help this breed
Sure.
exist, that we have new genetics in this country. And one of the things that will happen is when Kipling is old enough, the vet at the University of Illinois, and he's a specialist, and he's also licensed in the UK, in the EU, we will be able to gather the semen and send it internationally. Because I know I was contacted, there's a lady in Australia who has 2 females, and they have no way of reproducing, and it's really sad because they will just die out. So it's a major project that we're undertaking.
That is pretty amazing. I mean, one of the ways that the bee population is kept going is by sending little packets of the equivalent of bee sperm through the mail or by other deliveries, and there are people who specialize in extracting it and packaging it and sending it. So you're in a very unusual business here.
Yeah, my kids really get a good laugh out of it at this age.
What
This is what I'm doing as a retirement.
Yeah. How do you spend your retirement?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But
Yeah.
it's, for us, it's really exciting. I mean, to me, it's not retirement, it's a transition.
No, I'm sure.
I mean, neither one of us are retired.
Apparently
and we're
not.
both at an age we probably should be, but
Well,
life's too
but
short.
you're doing what you love.
Yes,
Right.
we're absolutely passionate about it.
For me, what else is there to do? Because my rehab in Florida has been going for 27 years. So
And it can run
it's
without
a
you.
commitment.
Yes.
Well,
No, it really can't. She gets, the other day, she was averaging 30 to 50 calls a day.
Wow.
It is baby season. I mean, when you get hawks and eagles, I mean, you get all these babies. You get fawns, and especially if you've had windstorms, she'll get many, many calls where people have found babies, and she has to make the plans for them. Take
Yeah,
care of them.
thinking back, we were involved, a group of us were involved in trying to rescue a particular goose, and it was, okay, if we get this goose.
I know the goose.
Exactly.
Everybody should know that goose.
That's right, but there was also another one this year. That
Oh,
was
really?
last year's,
Uh-huh.
yes. And this was one on Lake Salem.
Oh my.
And we were trying to get that particular goose. And it ended up that goose wintered out and is fine.
Uh-huh.
Hard to believe, in the middle of nowhere, a solitary goose. But that goose was fine, but it was, if we catch this goose, then what? But now I know where the then what is.
No, we'll definitely.
That's why.
That's why
We'll
we're
collect
here.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The story of the donkeys is a lovely story, and the donkeys are so attractive. I mean, when people watch this show, they're going to be able to see some photographs of your donkeys, which is amazing. Can people come and see them at your center?
Yes. Very definitely.
And we would prefer that they don't stop on the road and almost cause accidents and everything.
Because it would be nice if people would slow down going down Hinman Settler Road.
Right.
but
Just
and
pull in the
just
That's my
pull in.
personal beef.
Yep, they can pull in, they can
Yeah.
get out and enjoy a visit with all of the animals.
Do they need to set up an appointment to do this?
It would be better.
And how do they do that?
They can call Bari.
Yeah, my phone number is 239-872-7333. We just want to make sure that we're there, and we're happy to share them.
Absolutely. 'Cause you can't always be there.
No,
No.
and we're looking for volunteers too. We're looking for donations.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because right now we have probably 5 full-grown horses. Basically, it's the geriatrics of horses. We have 2 miniature donkeys that are 2 miniature horses. They're only 29 inches tall. We have probably 6 other donkeys, average-sized donkeys, and then we have the 10 Poitous.
And in the winter, you presumably have them in a barn somewhere,
Yes.
or at least with
Except
shelter.
for the Poitous.
The Poitous are outside.
They have a run-in. Their hair is so long,
Yeah,
and it's
so
coarse in the
protective.
winter.
Yeah.
Right.
They look a little like yak hair.
Yes.
It's pretty
People
amazing.
will slow down and they'll stop, and I'll go to the door and I'm thinking that they're broke down or something,
No,
and they go, "What are they?"
Because
what am I seeing
the-
here?
Yeah, if anybody is familiar with horses,
Yeah.
these donkeys are about 14 to 14 and a half
Yeah.
hands high.
They're
That's
almost-
big.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
big, and they weigh
Yeah.
probably 1,000 to 1,200 pounds. So they're very large.
They are big donkeys.
And
And
half
they
of
are-
it is hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they are also very, very social and
Mhm.
very gentle. The 3 that came up from the Hamilton Foundation had been in the field for about 7 years and hadn't been handled. And they literally will come when you call them.
Wow.
And anybody can pet them.
Mhm.
You don't want them to step on your feet because of the weight.
No, I
But
don't
other than
particularly
that,
want horses
they're
to step on
incredible.
my feet either
Yes.
for the same
Yeah,
reason.
but they're very gentle. They're not skittish. They're very social.
What do you need from volunteers?
Well, we need to socialize everything
Mm-hmm.
so that when people come to visit, they're not afraid. The people aren't afraid and the animals aren't afraid.
Right.
And we need volunteers to help us lead break them
Yeah.
so that most of the people don't ride the donkeys, although ours are rideable.
Mm-hmm.
But they walk them, and you can get your exercise, they can get their exercise. We have paths that are probably 2 miles long now that they can walk the
Mhm.
donkeys through and enjoy nature
Yeah.
as well. So all of the sights and sounds and
Uh-huh.
oh my gosh, I've had people tell us that they heard the Poitous especially from their house, which is 2.5 miles away.
Wow. That's a loud bray.
Yeah.
And they all sound different. Unlike a horse that pretty much all sounds the same.
No, not if you're a horse person.
Yeah,
You
well,
can tell the
maybe,
difference
okay.
between your horses.
But we have the sopranos, and
Yeah.
then
Oh.
our littlest donkey sounds like a bellowing elephant.
Yeah.
She has the largest voice of any of them.
And she's the smallest.
And she's the
Wow.
smallest. Yes, very, very loud. But we'd love people to come and work with them. You know, one of my hopes in my prior life, I was a child and family therapist, and I would love to be able to work with people, not as a professional anymore because I'm no longer licensed.
Right.
But if anybody has post-traumatic stress syndrome,
Right.
I know at Sue's place in Florida, I'd worked with a little boy that was autistic, and just walking them and being with them and being alone with them.
Mhm.
It's an incredible sense of what animals can do and what these animals, because they're so gentle.
Right. I think there are probably several organizations in the Newport area who, if they knew you existed, would probably be very interested in having some involvement. And what about the schools?
Well, once we're fully established and everything is going perfect, I do 15,000 kids a year at my facility in
Mhm.
Florida.
Right.
So we would love to do the schools here. Of course, COVID interfered.
COVID interfered
Yeah.
with everything. But finally.
But, you know, to me, the children of today, if they're not on their computers and their iPads and their whatevers, they are missing out on everything.
Mhm.
That's why we decided to put in the walking trail
Yeah.
so that people could see even deer close to dark. I mean, and they can see all of the different birds.
Right.
You have very few butterflies up here, but I'll put out stuff so that I can attract our northern butterflies now.
Yeah,
I have a giant butterfly garden in Florida. It's 1/3 of an acre, and it's in the shape of Florida's state butterfly,
yeah.
which is the zebra longwing, and we attract during the course of the year over 85 species.
I saw that on your website and it's fascinating. I sent that link to somebody up here who does monarch butterfly quote stuff. I would not be surprised if there weren't a group of people who would be interested in helping you with that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
The National Association of Butterflies does an annual count down there.
Yeah.
And it's the largest free-roaming butterfly garden in the state of Florida, because most of the butterfly gardens are not free-roaming. They bring the chrysalis in,
Yeah.
and then it sort of ends, where this is all natural. It's just from whatever the fields that are around, and
Yeah.
as well as the flowers that are there. One of the things I wanted to mention also with our arena, we, even in the winter, we will be able to have people come use it. It was built and it was donated, and it was built for the community, so people could come if they had an animal that they wanted to exercise, whether it's getting ready for a dog show, or they have a horse they want to do, they want to learn how to pull it with a cart. But as long as they have a healthy animal, and
They
it's been
can come
checked
and
by,
use
yes,
it.
we would love to have them.
That's actually a really great offer. The last indoor arena up here closed nearly 2 years ago now. And where a lot of us rode in the winter, there's nowhere to ride in the winter up here.
Well, we have there's a small heater that will take the chill off. And we just asked if people are using it if they would give a donation.
Yeah.
You
Which
know,
is
we're also doing the
absolutely
community
fair.
market for the same reason. On Saturdays, we're doing a community market
Yes.
in the arena, and that's to help raise money. Since it's new, we're not charging people. So if they have crafts or, food or vegetables or whatever, have them give me a call, and we'd love to have them have a table. And if they have a good day and they'd like to give us a donation, that would be great.
Yeah, and that was how I stopped the other day. I'd seen somewhere about a market,
Right.
and as I was driving by, I saw it. I thought, oh yeah. But otherwise, I would have kept right on
Yeah.
driving.
And it's nice because it's not. It's our community. The entire community is starting to use it. The Amish have tables in there.
Yeah.
Which is lovely, so people can get. There's some of the quilts and foods that they have, and other
They had
people's
lovely things in there.
crafts. Yes,
Mhm.
And
so
it was
it's
only
really a
very
variety.
small because it's early in the season.
You're right. Nobody has a garden that's really producing at this point. But if people have crafts that they do, I know we have one gentleman that called us that collects antiques, and he wants to start selling them. So he's going to bring some of his things over, and he'll have a table. So we're very open.
Yeah. And technically you're Brownington, right?
Yes.
And that's a fairly scattered community, so it's really wonderful to have a place for people to come together.
Yeah, there's no farmer's market, I think, but it goes from Newport
Right.
all the way down to Lindenville. I don't think there's anything in between.
No,
so.
it's Newport or Lindenville
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much. Yeah.
And it's, even if they're food trucks, we have the space for it.
Right, and we have the ability for them to put on dinners, dances.
Mm-hmm.
We have a wedding coming in October. So, the facility, if anybody has any ideas or any questions, they should
Yeah.
get with Bari.
Yeah, we built it for the community and also, for the animals, so we can exercise ours, and if people have animals that they want to exercise.
Yeah. What gave you the inspiration for this?
For up here,
Yeah, well, actually both, because if you started down there 27 years ago,
right?
I mean, that's massive growth.
Yes, and it was sort of funny. I married my husband, who was a rancher,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, he lived for cattle, orange groves, haying, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first, I was a city girl, and I married him, and he had 4 young children at home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took them on, so he took me on
Mm-hmm.
with my animals. When I was a kid, my neighbors would call my mother and say, "I think Sue has my cat." And my mother would come up to my bedroom and she'd say, "Do you have the neighbor's cat?" "Oh, yeah." I just wanted to play with it. And my husband, in the end, he said, "I don't know why I have to suffer for your mother and father not letting you have pets."
Uh-huh.
So, but I was the president of the Florida Holstein Association
Uh-huh.
too, and I had to travel a lot. And so my husband said, "Well, if you'll stay home, you can do anything you want."
What a rash statement.
Yes, to a woman.
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, I think I want a panther." And he looked at me like, "Yeah, okay, go ahead."
Uh-huh.
Well, it took a year to get my permits. I had to do 1,000 hours and of working with them. And in the end, I did get more than one. At one time, we had 6. But then the state came along and they said, "Why don't you rehab for us?" So in my little mind, I'm going, "Oh my gosh, I get all of these animals
Mm-hmm.
that I'll never be able to afford or get
Mhm.
in." And so I said, "Of course." So I had to do another year. So I rehabbed under a Florida rehabber and learned all about everything.
Oh, so you thought then.
Yeah, so you think. Anyhow, I got my license, and the animals, they told me that I'd probably get maybe 30 to 100 animals a year.
Mm-hmm.
Within the first 3 months, I had 300. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So, and then it just grew ridiculous. But now we have a hospital, and we do 1,200 animals a year. And we do birds. I have federal permit for birds. And so it takes a lot.
Right.
I have 3 people that work full time.
Only 3? That's not many.
Well, I have volunteers
Yeah.
too, and they help clean cages
Sure.
and make up food. You'd be surprised how many different diets that we have to make up every
Sure.
day.
It's an expensive proposition, too.
It is, yeah. I've
As I'm sure
struggled.
you found out.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But you've managed to keep going.
it has to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when we ran out of room down there and we came up here, at first I was going back and forth quite often, but then COVID, so you couldn't do anything. So we
Right.
did it all on the phone, and it's worked out fine. I
Yeah.
can send pictures,
Uh-huh.
they can send pictures to me. What needs to go to the vet,
Mhm.
they can take it. And we have a vet that comes in regularly to check on things, but it's working.
And COVID allowed you to put a lot of energy into building up here. You had
Yes.
to do something with that time.
Right, right.
We are practically out of time. It goes incredibly fast. So give the number again where people can get in contact with you. And I would hope that you're going to get a lot of people who are really interested in volunteering.
Okay, our landline is 802-754-6804.
Mm-hmm.
And Barry?
Yeah, and my number is 239-872-7333. And I usually take most of the calls because Sue is
Sure.
out and about, and I always have my cell phone.
Yeah.
And it is a Florida number if they pull it
Yeah.
up.
Oh,
That's
well.
why. It's left over from when
Lots
we
of us
moved
have
up.
strange phone numbers up here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you for
Do you
this.
know if Keisha's baby is male or female?
No.
So it's really going to be a true surprise.
Right.
And then
I'm
pick-
hoping we'll have a party to celebrate.
We will
That
have
would
to
be
have this,
fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And-
truly is an extraordinary event because it hasn't happened.
If you can post photos online, and I would bet the press would be really excited by this.
Well, I know how excited we are. It's just,
Well, I look
Yeah.
forward to a very exciting baby
yeah, and if
birth
anybody
event.
wants to, they can go on my, I post them all the time, and it's just barryfisher@gmail.com.
Yeah,
And anybody who wants to befriend, I would love to share them with them.
that's great. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.